Morning troops, it's an extremely hot and extremely muggy day in Bridge of Allen near Stirling. My name's Fraser, welcome to Bushcraft Scotland. So here we are, arriving at the camp. I'm knackered and peeing with sweat because it's up a big hill, but this is where I'll be spending my evening. Now it looks like a few people have been up here. There's a lot of cut wood around here, which kind of suits me, to be honest. Someone's obviously taken a tree down here. I've been up here before and I made this fire pit, and it's good that it's still there, because with all the dry weather we're going to need to do it on stone so we don't burn the place down, and be really careful, keep a nice small fire. So just realised that all this wood is going to be an absolute godsend for me tonight. I was planning on just using two pieces of wood and piling up all the guff off the floor to insulate me. But what we've got here is the makings of a bed already. They're very spiky at the moment, but I can trim them down, drop them up off the ground, and that will keep me insulated from below. So what I'm doing here is I've got my 3 sets of logs to prop up the straights of the bed. Now because these branches are fairly dry, I don't want them breaking on me in the middle of the night. So I've propped up the middle as well. Normally you just prop up the ends, but got a wee thing in the middle. Hopefully they all sit nicely. I'll go and try now. So there we have it. Let's see how comfy it is. Not very. I'm going to have to trim some of the little bits off it, some of the spikier bits. I might even get some foliage, some greenery, just to put over the top of it, give myself a little bit of cushioning, but other than that, that's a sturdy bit of kit. So what I'm going to do now is make myself a little bench. I've got my paracord here, or one bit of it anyway. Looks like it's frayed at this bit, but that's okay. So I'm planning on lashing these 2 rounds together like this, and then lashing these 2 rounds together like this, and now because they're cut on a slope, that should hold a log like this in place, and it'll just give me somewhere to sit down and enjoy myself. So I'll do that just now. So now that I've got a wee bit set up, I've got my bed, I've got my little bench made, I thought I'd tell you a bit more about what I'm doing today. So the plan for the whole day and for the night, for this next 24 hours, is to do what's called the 5 Cs Survival Challenge. Now the 5 Cs is a term that was coined by Dave Canterbury, one of the godfathers of the modern bushcraft movement. He helped bring it into the kind of popular eye and make it what it is today. And what he found was that there are actually 10 Cs in the extended version, but there are 5 Cs of things that you really need, really the basic essentials, things that are really difficult to make out in the wild, things that you need to survive. So the 5 Cs are a cutting tool, and cordage, cover, a container, and a combustion device. I'm going to take a little bit of a look at what I brought from my 5 Cs later on, but I'm really looking forward to doing this. It's something that I've never done before. I've never come out into the woods with so little equipment before. Never come out here and done a survival challenge, as you were, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. I just tried my bed out there. I don't think it's going to be very comfy. It's a wee bit hard, as you can imagine. I don't really want to try and use the ferns to give it a bit of loft because it's tick season, and I know for a fact that there are deer around here, and with deer obviously comes deer ticks, so I don't want to go back home and find them covered in ticks sucking the life out of me. So I might have a wander around, see if there's anything else I can use, maybe even get some of the pine branches and stuff just to make as much of a mattress as possible, and failing that I've got a down jacket that I brought as another layer. I don't think I'll need it for warmth tonight because it's only supposed to get down to about 16 degrees, so what I'll do is I'll hopefully either kind of bundle it up and use it as a pillow, or I'll put it across here and see if it makes it any comfier, which I doubt it will. It'll just compress down into nothing. So I'm going to get on now. I'm going to move the fire pit from over there to about where the camera is sitting just now, far enough away from my tarp that it doesn't put any little burn holes in it, because that's the last thing you want. It's an expensive tarp. So I'll go and do that, and I'll be back with you in a minute. So we have the fire pit ready, a little bit of wood gathered, all good. So let's take a look at my 5Cs kit. So the first one is cover, and for that I brought the DD Superlight 3x2x9 tarp. I brought it because it's really light, it's really it's big enough to use, and it's just a really high quality tarp. I've still got some of the Dyneema guy lines that I've put on it and the ridge line on it as part of my cordage, so I'm going to use that to string it up between these two trees here over my bed, keeping me nice and dry. The next one is an easy choice. It's some paracord. I actually brought more than that, it's in my bag behind me. Paracord's great. This is proper 5-strand parachute cord, so that's going to be able to tie up things like the bench that I've made. It could be a ridge line, it could be split out into the strands and used as tinder, used as fishing line. It's a really multi-purpose item, total essential for going anywhere in any sort of survival situation. I've always got a little bit of paracord on me, at least in my bag, that I take to work and everything with me. The next is container. I brought my cheapo military canteen. So it comes in this little bag. It's just a normal canteen, well used, and it also comes with this little cup that I think I'm going to cook in later on. I'm going to cook my nettles and my dandelions and things in there, and I've also brought a little packet of noodles in case I get really hungry, which I've kind of already decided I'm going to, so I'm going to make the noodles later on with that. Next up is my knife, my cutting tool. You've seen this before in my last video. It's a Joker knife. I don't know what type of steel it is, I don't know what make it is, but it's a really good knife. It holds an edge really well even when I absolutely batter it about. A little bit rusty, but it really does the job, and I can strike a ferro rod on the back of it as well, and I've put it in the sheath that Stuart at Reviresco Leather and Crafts made me. And the last of the 5Cs is my combustion. This is a the friendly Swede magnesium block with a ferro rod on it. Now these seem to get a lot of bad press actually. A lot of people say that the ferro rod falls off the top, that they can't get the magnesium off, it's hard to scrape, doesn't produce many sparks, but I've never had any of those problems with this. I reckon it's a case of if you treat it properly, treat it right, it's not going to fall apart on you, and it definitely throws sparks. I mean, it throws sparks like there's no tomorrow. And the magnesium, although it's a little bit hard to get off, if you've got the right tool, like this has got a nice sharp edge on it, the striker, if you've got the right tool you can get some off it, no problem at all, and that will help me start my fire. I don't reckon I'm going to have any issues with that because everything's so dry, which is good for lighting the fire, but it does mean I need to be extremely careful, so that's why I dug the hole underneath the fire pit. It's down to like moist soil already. We got a good drenching last night. I put slabs, like stone slabs in the bottom of it, so that's going to keep everything nice and safe, and it's completely ringed in by stone as well. So that's my 5Cs. I've cheated with a couple of things. I brought some emergency things on, an emergency sleeping bag, a first aid kit, a little bit more water, because the water that I've got in there needs to be boiled up. I also brought some noodles for dinner. If all goes to pot, I can pop them in the cup and have a nice warm carby dinner to I've also brought one more C with me, which I'll show you later on. So I'm down here at the local supermarket now, plenty of food on offer, so I've got my little belt foraging pouch on the go. Get that opened up, we'll get it filled with some dinner for tonight. So one thing I wanted to say before I get into this is that foraging is something that you really need to look into before you go out and do it. I'm only doing this with things that I am absolutely sure are the plants that I think they are. I've got signal here, so if I'm at all dubious about picking any of the plants, I will either Google them until I'm absolutely certain what they are, or just not pick them at all. For example, there's tons of what I think is dead nettle around here, purple dead nettle. Now, I know you can eat purple dead nettle, but I'm just not sure, I'm not 100% that that is what the plant is itself. So I'm not touching any of it, I'm not picking it. And even the nettles that I am picking, I'm making sure that they're actual nettles by stinging the back of my hand. It's a bit silly, but you have to be sure if you're going to eat anything that you find out in the wild, any plants. Things like the clover here, that could be confused with wood sorrel as well. So I googled the difference between the flowers, and that made me absolutely certain that it is what it is. So that's just a disclaimer. I don't want anybody going out and copy what I'm doing. I'm not teaching anybody anything here. I'm just showing you what I'm experiencing and what I'm doing because I'm certain of the plants that I'm picking up. But if you do know what you're doing or you want to learn more about what you're doing, there's always courses and things. A good friend David over at Woodland does some really good foraging courses, does survival courses as well. There's plenty available. Just Google foraging course near me and you'll find something that will help you in learning what to do when you're out and about. So what we've got here, troops, is something that we all know and we all love to hate, and that's the common nettle. And it's actually one of the most nutritious wild foods available. It grows in abundance absolutely everywhere, and you'll obviously know it by the fact that it will sting your hand off if you touch it. So I'm going to be very careful. I've got my jacket over my hand. I'm going to pick a few of these leaves, just a few off each plant, and put them in my foraging bag. Now the best leaves are always going to be the young ones, as with any plant. They're a lot more tender and they're a lot less bitter. I learnt something from a gentleman called David McRae of the Woodland Ways school. He let me know that the actual chemical composition of the nettle changes as it gets older and as it starts to flower. So I'm being very careful only to pick the littlest leaves and the youngest shoots. And what I'm going to do with these, alongside anything else I gather, is going to be just blanching them in water. If they are turning out to be a bit more bitter, what I'll do is I'll actually boil them, and then I'll change the water and boil them again, and that way hopefully it will take some of the bitterness out of the plant. Now I'm having to use my jacket over my hands here to pick these nettles, but apparently there's a technique where you can actually pick them without getting stung. Now, as I've discovered multiple times already today, I do not have that technique, so I'm just using these. I should have bought a pair of gloves. Now, if I'm right in thinking that what we have here is a really good find, I think that it's a blackcurrant. Now, I've had a look at some of the other berries that are around here. None of them are out. None of the blackberries or any of the wild strawberries have actually come out yet. They're all still tiny and green. And although there are only, 4 decent blackberries there, I might be able to look around and see if there are some more. So I'm going to open it up and see what it is. So what I've done is I've picked a couple of what I think are the black currants that we found. I'm just going to pop one open and see if it is what we think it is. Just going to pop it open with my nail. It should be kind of gelatinous with a lot of tiny wee seeds in it. And yes, we have black currants. You can see here the tiny little seeds in it. So I'm going to go and have a look around, see if I can find any more of these little bad boys for dinner. Oh, that was tart. So what we've got here down on the path is another one of the most common weeds in the world, but also one of the most nutritious out there. It's dandelion. So it'll be the bane of every lawn gardener's life, because it will grow absolutely anywhere. It'll come up between any crack in any pavement or paving slab. And so I'm going to gather a whole handful of these because these are going to taste really good. Same with the nettles. I'm only going to pick the youngest leaves, and I'm only going to take a few from each sprig of the plant. Now you don't want to be taking these from beside a roadside or near any industrial work or anything like that, because they'll have taken in some of the chemicals from the soil and probably the taste as well. But out here in the woods they're perfectly fine to eat. What we got down here is another great little find. It's another great edible. It's one that less people know about. It's a plant called plantain. It's just behind this leaf here. Now it usually grows fairly flat to the ground, comes up in these little sprigs as a flower, and it's another very, very nutritious plant. It used to be used for medicine in all sorts of ways, poultices and tonics and things. This one's a wee bit minging, so I'm going to have a look, see if I can find any that are still in the long grass that haven't been stood on by any walkers, and collect a few of them up for my tea as well. So what you can see down here is a really common plant. It's really common in meadows and fields. Any grassland really grows all over the UK, and it is white clover. Now it's a trefoil plant, so it's got 3 leaves that oppose each other on the stem, and it can sometimes be confused with wood sorrel. Now the way you can tell between them is the flower heads. The clovers have kind of ball-like flower heads, you can see there, the white things, whereas wood sorrel has more open petaled leaves. Now because this contains something called oxalic acid, it can sometimes be a bit bitter. Which is fine, you know, the taste isn't always the most important thing in a survival situation, but the best thing to do is, 1, not eat too many of them because it can cause bloating and digestive problems, and 2, boil them down a wee bit just to take some of that bitterness out of it. So I'm going to collect a few of these. I'll tell you what, the hardest part about collecting these is getting them in amongst the grass without picking mounds and mounds of grass out with it. It's a bit of a hassle, but it'll be worth it when I get my dinner tonight. So I'm a little bit sad actually. I came to this slope here because when I last came to this area it was absolutely covered in wild garlic, you know, just totally coating the ground. But for whatever reason there is not a single wild garlic leaf anywhere. I don't know whether it's been the heat. We've had a massive heat wave over the last, I don't know, month in Scotland. It's been, you know, it was the hottest temperature we've ever had in Glasgow one day. But nothing here, which is really disappointing. I might be able to pick up 1 or 2 leaves that will hopefully add a little bit of flavouring to my salad, I suppose. But to be honest, it's pretty disappointing. I was hoping for a bit more to be found here, but hey ho, that's nature. I've just got my canteen down here. I'm going to get some water for this stream, and I'm going to boil it later on just to sterilise it out. It's a pretty clean stream, but you just don't know. There could be dead deer up there, there could be giardia in the water, so I'm going to gather it now, take it up to the camp and boil it off. That's me all set up now. I've got my tarp up above me and all my firewood gathered, so I'm going to have a nap, see if I can get comfy for a bit. Got my down jacket as a pillow, got my other jacket underneath me for some padding. I'm going to see if I can catch some shut-eye. See you soon. Morning folks, that's me up off my nap now. Had a good wee lie down. It wasn't as uncomfy as I thought it would be. What I thought I'd do now is the wind's coming from this direction, so on this side of the fire I'm going to build a wee fire reflector. So I'll show you how that happens. And there we have it. I took a time lapse on my phone, but apparently it doesn't like doing that, so it didn't record it. But yeah, here's the finished product. Hopefully that will keep some of the wind off the fire and reflect some of the heat back at me. So what I've got here is a couple of sticks. They're just, I don't even know what type of tree they are, but I found them on the ground, they're dead. I'm going to carve them up and hopefully create some chopsticks for eating my noodles later and my boiled salad greens, which I'm really looking forward to. I'll check back in when it's all done. Well, unfortunately I've chosen the worst wood possible for this. There's a big bit of pith down the middle. It's a load of pith if you ask me, but I'm going to have to maybe use some pine or something. It won't taste particularly good, but at least it'll be solid in the middle, so try that. So it turns out pine twigs have got pith in them as well, which is an exciting thing to learn. So what I did was I got one of these sticks and I quartered it, batoned it down and carved it from that. So I'm halfway there, and I'm going to go and carve this one as well. And there we go, chopsticks all done. Dinner time. So here we are at my wee fireplace. I've put a nice base down of some really nice dry wood that's fairly thick. I've made a little triangle. What I did over the last little while is made up some feather sticks. So what I'm going to do is try and use my ferro rod to strike the feather sticks, and then obviously use the pine and whatever wood this is to get things properly going. So let's see how that goes. Again, a bit more delicately this time. I've decided not to bother using the magnesium because I think it'll be more of a hindrance than a help. Just what I might do is do this on the rock where I've got a bit more stability and then pop it in there. It's a wee bit windy as well, so this is proving problematic. Let's see. Scrape some of the ferrocerium into there, and then hopefully that will help spark it. And oh, I had flame there and I put it out with my finger. And again. Yeah, that's not worked. Give it another go. And we are in flames. Oh, it's gone out again. Try again. problem with not having any tinder with you. Let's get a bit comfier and try this again. Hey. Oh, I think what's happened is I've crushed the curls, so they're no longer airy enough to take an actual flame. They're just kind of smouldering. So let's try this one. No success as of yet. Let's see if I can wedge it against this and give it some right in the middle. I'm going to do it on the ground, under my foot, get some proper leverage on it. I'm wondering if these curls are too tight. Right. Let me move this out of the way and get into the fire close. And we have lift off. That didn't work. So what I've done is I've boiled up some water and I've put my greenery in it. I'm going to boil it for a little bit more, and just to get any kind of tannins and bitterness out of it, and then I'm going to change the water, boil it up again, and eat it. So I think it's about time for dinner. I've cooked up my salad, the dandelion, nettle, watercress, plantain, not watercress, clover, plantain and wild garlic salad. So I'm just going to pour off the water, which looks remarkably dark, and give it a go. Well, wish me luck, troops. Very stringy, like extremely stringy. Try a bit of dandelion. That's what's stringy. Quite bitter as well. I think maybe I should have picked some younger leaves. I've maybe picked some ones that were a bit old. Let's try some nettle. That's much more tender. Doesn't taste too bad either. Kind of almost like spinach, but like it's almost got a furry texture to it. What else have we got in here? Try some little bits of watercress as well. What's that? Younger dandelion, this will be nice. Yeah, that's much nicer. Still some wee bits and pieces in there. Well, overall, I haven't been sick and probably not going to die, so I would call this a success. Not something I'd enjoy eating often, but I suppose as a side to a bit of protein, maybe if I got a squirrel or a rabbit or something, it would be good. But yeah, I'd give it a solid 3.5 out of 10. So I got a bit bored and built a new bench. And then I was still bored, so I made it better. What I've done is I made the bench, and then, let's go around the back. I put 2 uprights here and here, which are braced on the crossbar here, which is braced in itself by this upright here. And I've just kind of woven the back slats on. I didn't want to ruin my whole hank of paracord by cutting it up into bits, so I just doubled it over, started at the bottom, and without cutting it, just wove it over the ends of the sticks. So now we've got a full bench with back support. Isn't that lovely? There's a deer down there. I don't know if you can make it out, but I can't zoom in any further. Just saw a red squirrel, and now we've got a deer. you can't see it. Oh, there it is. There it is, just moving past the tree. I'm gonna see how close I can get. Oh, it's gone. Did you hear that? Hi troops, sorry about the big gap there. I've just been pottering about. I actually got a wee visit from my mum and her partner, which was really nice. They brought me some plums that they foraged on the way up here. So right now I'm just sitting by the fire. I'm probably going to make some noodles in a little while. And yeah, I'll check back in soon. So I thought while my noodles are cooking down there that I might show you the 6th sea that I brought with me. It's a little bit of a cheat on an excursion like this, but it's a Czech imported lager. I was looking for a can of Tennants, but they didn't have any, so I had to go with the next best sea, which is this. Hope you don't think too badly of me, but a man's got needs, so I'm going to go and enjoy this with my noodles. I'll see you later. I forgot to show you earlier actually. I'm wearing my favourite Bushcraft t-shirt. It's my Bear Grylls t-shirt. Now, unlike Bear, I will not be escaping to a little hotel tonight and pretending that I'm out in the woods. I'll be right here, uncomfy as hell on that bed, which you can't see. But yeah, none of that hotel shit. Morning troops, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I've basically been up all night. I think I got about an hour's sleep maybe 3 times. One of those times was by the fire, just came and lay by the fire there. I think I made a grave error with the bed. It wasn't the comfiest in the world. I ended up kind of trying to sleep behind the bed, still under the tarp. But I just couldn't get comfy. I ended up emptying the rucksack out, using that as a little pad, which was slightly comfier, but it just wasn't a good way to spend the night. I think if I was to make a bed out of wood next time, I'd probably use, you know, lots of little bits like that to make a layer across it and then cover it in the pine needles to hopefully create a little bit of padding. But I'm a side sleeper generally, so it just wasn't very good. Yesterday was brilliant though. I had a great day, built lots of stuff, had a good day. Had a visit from my mum and her partner. Had some really good food, but I had some food. So I'm just going to pack all my stuff up and take a walk back to Dunblane to get the train. So yeah, check in on the way back. Trust me to find on my way home the place where all the berries are already out. Look at that, it's been the same all the way up there. Damn shame. Right folks, that's me walking back to the train station now. Tell you what, it's been a really good experience this. Now that I've stopped moping about my bad sleep, just kind of reflected on everything I've done, and it's been really good. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I'm actually leaving a wee bit early. It's only about 8:30 and I arrived at 10:30, so I'm cutting 2 hours out of it, but let's be honest, the survival situation was over, and all I'd be doing for the next 2 hours would just be sitting by a cold fire. So thanks for watching the video, much appreciated everybody, and it'd be really good to get any hints and tips and things in the comments. I'm always looking for feedback. I'm by no means an expert at this. I'm still very much learning about what I'm doing, and you know, somebody once said to me that to learn something you need to ask an expert, somebody that's an expert in it, but in the age we're living in at the moment, that's not always the case. You can go on Google and find out what hundreds of thousands of experts have done, and it makes things very easy. So things like the foraging, I learned it from the Collins Food for Free book, brilliant little book, nicely illustrated, but also things like Google and people's blogs and even the Facebook groups for bushcraft and wild camping and things. So yeah, but always open to learning. So any tips about, you know, how to cook my food so it's not absolutely minging, and any other really simple things to forage, things to build, you know, any hints and tips would be much appreciated. But I'll leave you there. Thanks very much for watching, and this is Bushcraft Scotland signing off.